All right, so I have now black and white, basically black cutout type solutions. There are two things we're going to turn in. One is our sketch. Two things we're going to turn in on Monday that we've already done. One is our sketch, so you make sure you have a JPEG of that. One is our black and white type solution, so I can go ahead and save a copy of that right now. Just say File, Save As, a JPEG, and this will be my poster black text, and it's no longer a sketch. For assignment 8. And we use JPEG so we can make sure it's not more than 5 megabytes. Because these poster size files, they get pretty big, even as JPEGs. All right. So now we have to play with the color, maybe further customize it a little bit. And these are my EPS files. So that is what I save and send as a JPEG. So I first have this, my sketch, and then I have my JPEG. But you'll notice there's a difference between them. Right? Humility is not bent yet, because I wanted to show you how you could do things like that in Photoshop. So there are certain things I can do while I keep this an EPS smart file, smart layer. So the things I can do, I'll make a duplicate just so you can see. I can transform it, and the options I get to transform it are to skew it. Now skewing is the same as italicizing. And for a lot of you who really liked a customized typeface, you might not have thought of, well, what if it was italicized? So that's something you can do without ever taking it out of the vector form. You can also obviously do things like scale it and stretch it. Things you can also do in Illustrator, but you might want to adapt it even more. Right? So now I'm thinking I want to play with this a little differently. Maybe I want to run it maybe about like that. Let's see. Run it behind, and then maybe I actually want to move my black and white line work up on top of everything. And then maybe I want to put a stroke on that, right? And kind of see how much is needed for it to be readable. I like how the star of the hat is in the middle of the X. And I kind of like how Texas is hidden, right? Because it's about humility. But now I might want to play more with the humility. Instead of just stretching it, maybe I want to do more than just transform it or skew it. So to do that, I will rasterize it. This is a copy. And once you rasterize it, then you can do the full warp, should you want. And if you want to really control it, I recommend using guides. And you'll have kind of control of nice subtle arcs like that.
How come I can't pull up and find my type tool?
What program are you in?
Illustrator.
It's the T.
I know what
Let's see.
I know what it is. It's not here.
Let me see if I can help you find it. Just a second. So this made some interesting changes. right? It exaggerated the angle of the H. It really lengthened the M. And I might like some things about it. I might not like other things. I actually like the shape of it, but I don't like that the dots have gone to ovals. So I can keep playing with it, playing with the warp, playing with the scale, and customize and keep customizing it. Yeah. Okay, so I think I like this solution. I think this is working well. Now I want to play with color a little bit. And in order to kind of know what color I want, I need to bring in my color illustration, not just the black line work. So let me save it where it is. And if I think this is the black text solution I want, because mine's a little different than just my straight EPS, right? I might save that. So I'll just turn off the spot illustration and quickly save this as a JPEG. Again, it's just black text JPEG. It's going to overwrite the old one. And now I go back to assignment 7 to grab my spot illustration. And I have to pick which one I want. And the one I like best is actually the one where I added color separations to it. We went over that last class. It's a separate video in Photoshop for it. Where are those color separations? Let's see. Maybe I didn't do it. So let me review how to do that. Because I made a PNG of it, I thought. Oh, I maybe put it in here. Yeah, I put it in my color separations layer. Sorry. But I'll review that really quickly. So what you do to make color separations is you flatten the image. So layer, flatten. This is with a lot of full spectrum and kind of overdone. To run the color separations, you have to only have one file open in Photoshop. So I'm going to close my other file. And once that's closed, I'm going to go to Actions, Window Actions, and I'm going to look for Carl, the folder that says Carl Color Seps. And then I'm going to open that folder with the drop-down arrow and go to CMYK Full Run. And it's like choosing a VHS tape. Why is it like choosing a VHS tape to play? Well, because if you open up the VHS tape and start pulling at the magnetic programming, it messes up the tape. So don't do that. Just pick the VHS tape and then hit play. And all the ones that have my name on them, all those actions, they will create extra files. So they won't overwrite your original. So they're safe actions to try. And I get my cyan dot layer, but I don't need that. I get my yellow dot layer, but I don't need that. I get my magenta dot layer, I don't need that. If you want to see exactly how I do each of those steps, look at the video I did on color separations. I don't need the black dot layer. What I do need is this combined one that has them all together. And I'm going to select them all, put them all in a folder. Then I'm going to move that Photoshop file out so I can take that folder, drag and drop it onto my illustration. And then I'm going to transform it because it outputs at 300 and I'm at 450. And I'm going to match it up to the dimensions of this illustration. There we go. And it's okay if it's a little off because this is offset color. And now I get to play with these CMYK separations. In fact, I could take this and actually put it on something more complicated. Let's see. Which is in assignment 7. Which is my finished PSD assignment. Oh, that's where it is. See, I've already done all this. Okay, but anyway, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back to this file, which has all these different layers to make up the image, and I'm going to put my spot illustrations or my color separations, drag that file over, put it on top of everything, set it to normal, layer it on top, put it at full opacity, turn on a white background, turn on a gray background, turn on a black background, and now I get to adjust those. So these are the different ways you can adjust your CMYK separations. You can turn off certain colors, but I kind of need them all, right? But you can play with the order of the color. So the magenta is a little strong, so let me push that behind the cyan. You can also play with the opacity of each one. And I'm kind of okay with everything. You could try a different mode. So right now it's normal mode. If I want my other illustration options to come through, I can use things like overlay. And you'll see how the dots will impact your illustration. That's what it was before. That's what it is now. I can use something like soft light. That's pretty effective. I can use pin light. It's a little more subtle, a little bit lighter. I can't decide between pin light and soft light. So I think I'm going to go with soft light. Yeah, why not? Yeah. So if I do soft light, you'll notice it's a very subtle effect, but it's everywhere. And then the other thing you can do, I really like what it does with this gradation here. But then the other thing I can do is I can actually move this down through my different layers. So move it down underneath things like the glowing eyes. So I'm going to take this whole folder and move it down. Move it down. See, underneath the glowing eyes, underneath the black line layer, and then I don't have it in the black lines anymore. And you can decide what's best. So you have a lot of customization that you can choose. I want it above my black line, but that might be the, well, I kind of want it above the halo too. Yeah, because I like it in there. All right, so once you've kind of picked your coloring for your spot illustration, I'm going to turn off the backgrounds. I'm going to